it's Pat from Seattle Coffee Gear, and we're here today to talk about a thing that we get a lot of questions about, which is portafilters. We're going to look a little bit at each of these different portafilters. These are some of the ones that we have available on our website. We're going to talk a little bit about what makes them different, how they're compatible with different machines, and try to answer some questions you might have when you go shopping for a portafilter. So the first thing we want to talk about is bottomless versus spouted portafilters. If you have a higher end espresso machine or really anything in the prosumer range, you probably have a portafilter that looks a little bit like this, at least in terms of its basic design of having the place for the basket and then having the spouts. It'll be either single or double spouted. It's kind of often regarded as the standard portafilter that you're going to start with your machine, and they do a good job of delivering the espresso. If you are interested, though, you can usually get a bottomless portafilter, and we'll go over these different brands in a second. But bottomless portafilter is not going to have that spouting. It's just going to be a direct set of holes that is going to cause the espresso to come right out from through the basket and then right out into your cup. Now, the reason that these can be challenging and why most machines have the spouted portafilters is because you can end up with the espresso coming out of all of these different holes, and what you want is one continuous stream. But if you're still working on your tamp, or depending on the quality of your machine, you might end up getting channeling in a weird spot, or getting it kind of spraying a little bit, or making a mess somehow. And the spouts make sure that it comes out in an orderly way on either side, or one side if it's a single spouted portafilter. Now, why would you want a bottomless portafilter then? Well, for one, it's very pretty because you get to watch all the espresso come out and kind of coalesce into one stream. And it also helps you dial in your tamping so that you're tamping evenly to get that espresso coming out in the middle. If you go to tamp and then when you are brewing your espresso, you find that it's coming out one side, then it's likely that you're putting more pressure on that side, which is causing less grounds on that side. It hurts with the overall extraction. So people use bottomless portafilters to help dial in their tamping technique and their overall brewing technique, and also to get that pretty flow that is really nice for photos and videos. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about these different brands, because you'll notice we've got some different sizes and different configurations on them. So the first one we have here is this Breville 54 millimeter portafilter. As you can see, it's got double spouts and it has the 3 teeth on it. And this is going to work exclusively with the 54 millimeter group head Breville machines. You have to get exact down to the millimeter because obviously you want a seal there. So you have to use the right size portafilter for your machine. And you also need the right pattern here so that it's going to slide into the group head and let you lock it. This is essentially a replacement for the ones that come in a lot of different Breville machines. It's pretty simple. It's just going to work with those machines. Next, we have this bottomless Seiko 53 millimeter portafilter. This is going to work with, again, the machines that have 53 millimeter group heads in Seiko's lineup. So this is a lot of kind of older machines, but it does give you that bottomless option compared to the spouted options that come with those machines initially. So this one is a very specialized portafilter just for Seiko machines with that 53 millimeter group head. We get a lot of questions about, will this portafilter work with this machine? Is this the right size to work with this tamper, etc.? The answer is generally that these portafilters are made for specific machines. One place where you might differ a little bit is in the case of this bottomless portafilter. We call this the Seattle Coffee Gear bottomless portafilter. This is going to work with a variety of E61 group machines, specifically Rocket Espresso machines, but E61 groups have a 58 millimeter group head, so multiple 58 millimeter portafilters can work with them, but it is important that you check that your machine has this double teeth group head, because if it doesn't fit these teeth, then it's not going to slot in properly and create that proper seal. So again, we are able to say with confidence that this portafilter is going to work with Rocket Espresso machines, and generally it works with other E61 machines, but it is important to check and make sure that there aren't any weird patterns on your machine before you purchase it. So here's where it gets a little tricky. This Nova Simonelli portafilter is the same size as the Seattle Coffee Gear portafilter. Also has these two teeth on it, but you'll notice that it's at a pretty different angle here. So the complicated part is if we look at the teeth and we kind of compare their sizing, which is a little hard to do, but you'll notice the Nova Simonelli portafilter also has slightly thicker teeth. So this is an example of a portafilter that is almost assuredly not going to work in your Rocket Espresso machine, for example, because its teeth are a little thick, and then even if it did fit, it would be at a weird angle for that machine. It's designed for Nova Simonelli machines at that 58 millimeters, so it's going to fit those machines, but it won't necessarily fit your Rocket Espresso machine. Now, this Rocket Espresso portafilter might fit in the Nova Simonelli machine, but because the teeth are not sized just right, it's probably going to sit kind of loose or funny. It might have some leaking issues. So this is really the question that we get a lot is, will this portafilter work with this machine? Really, if you stick to the guidelines that we lay out in the product pages, those are the machines that it's going to work with. I wouldn't go outside of those options. Kind of driving that home is this La Marzocco portafilter, which is again going to be about the same size here, but it has slight differences in the size of the teeth around the side. And so I wouldn't recommend trying it in a Rocket because it's just not designed to create the seal for that machine that it is for La Marzocco machines. So to kind of make a long story short, if you're wondering if a portafilter will work with your machine, generally the answer is going to be not as well as you'd like. Because if you have to ask that question, then it's probably not designed for that machine. You can certainly give it a try, and some people do modify things, like they'll modify their Breville portafilters to make them bottomless or whatever, and sometimes you have some success with that, but just know that I'd be very careful with that, because at that point you're kind of choosing to make the modifications. If it ends up not working at the end, you're not going to necessarily be able to get your money back or return it from the retailer. But generally, at least when you shop with us, it should be pretty clear what portafilters will work with what machines, and you can certainly get in touch with us if there are machines that you want to see portafilters for that we don't have available. So I hope that this was helpful to you in finding your next portafilter upgrade, and be sure to leave any questions about this below. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and get subscribed for more coffee content coming real soon. Thanks.